Hello, welcome to this week's 5 Minute Life Hack. I apologize, it's been a few weeks. I have been under the weather, which is extremely unusual for me. I don't get sick very often, so when I do, it affects me quite a bit. So anyway, but I'm feeling much better and ready to get back in the saddle. So today we're going to be talking about leadership and humble confidence. Many of you know we gathered the leadership of all three businesses and had a large culture summit a few months back in Virginia. And one of the leadership traits and culture pieces we talked about was humble confidence or confident humility. You can say it both ways. It sounds kind of like an oxymoron, like in some ways those are opposites. But let's talk through this a little bit. And I have an amazing story I want to share with you that I heard recently. So, what is humble confidence? Someone who is a humble, confident leader is extremely competent. They know what they're doing. They're extremely hardworking. They lead by example. They are curious learners, always looking to learn. This part I love. They deeply believe they can learn from every person in the organization, no matter their situation in life. And that goes for life and business. So they are curious with everyone they meet, anxious to learn. And then this is the key, I think. They are more focused on learning how to grow and improve than defending their position or being right. And I put that on there because I think that's extremely difficult for us as human beings, including myself. So here's a story I recently heard from a great book. It's about a new CEO. So the chairman of the board hires the CEO and they can fire the CEO. But the chairman of the board had recently hired a new CEO who's a fantastic operator, which is exactly what that company needed. And so they were kind of in the middle of a turnaround. And but this chairman of the board saw some things that were troubling and concerning. So they needed to have some discussions and start working through some of these things. The new CEO was doing well in what he needed to do right then, but needed to learn and grow in other ways. And so pay attention to this. He set up a lunch. So this is the new CEO, the chairman of the board who's got some concerns, and the business consultant who happens to be writing this book. And it's told from his perspective. So listen and put yourself in these shoes and see how you would act as the new CEO.
He wanted me there to help structure the conversation, to serve as a facilitator or extra voice if needed, and probably to offer moral support in what could be a tough conversation. To say to a new CEO that you're concerned that he's not acting like a leader is, of course, fraught with potential landmines, depending on whom you're dealing with. The chairman began by telling the CEO that he was glad to have the opportunity to talk to him in this setting, informally, and not with the whole board. If he was going to have to say some things that might be difficult to hear, and wanted to discuss them before they got to the level where board involvement might be necessary. At this point, it was just informal feedback to see what the CEO's thoughts were on some issues. It was clear that the CEO could tell that this was not going to be a lot of happy talk. The tone of the lunch got a little more serious, not contentious, but the mood had clearly been set. We are here to talk about some important stuff, and it is not all good. The entrees were on their way, and I found myself wishing he had saved his prologue, at least until after I'd gotten to enjoy my lunch. The chairman then went into a pretty awkward presentation of a list of ways he had noticed that the CEO was not acting, quote, leaderly, as he put it. He named several instances in which he felt like the CEO was acting like a manager, not a leader, and said he thought that to make it as a CEO, he was going to have to do differently. If I had not known him better from the content list he laid out, I would have thought he was firing him. I braced myself for the response, putting myself in the CEO's shoes, thinking how difficult that feedback must have been to hear. Where is my entree? I remember thinking, this could go bad. What happened next literally caused my eyes to water. The CEO looked up, nodded slowly, and said, "You have just given me a great list of the things that I need to learn how to do to be a great CEO. Those are definitely my opportunities to grow. I would like to get better in those areas. Can you guys help me?"
I love that story. This new CEO got told many, many things he needed to improve. He didn't say, yeah, but I've been doing this and I've been doing this. He didn't say, but I've never been told how to do this, or I've never been trained on that. He said, thank you for telling me. Those are things I do need to improve on to become better. Will you help me? And asked for help. That's incredible. That is an amazing leader right there. And I don't think any of us would be surprised to learn that that CEO did phenomenally well for years and years to come. We're all on a learning path. We're all growing. Every company's a little bit different. Every situation's different. Sometimes we manage one way with certain people and certain markets, and sometimes it needs to be different. And I love that we can get pushed to grow and to change. So that, to me, is the definition of humble confidence. That CEO was confident in what he was doing. He knew he was turning the company around, but he was also humble enough to recognize there was areas he needed to improve in. I love that. Just amazing. So the challenge question for this week is, am I more worried about being right or more worried about growing and improving? So hope you guys are all doing great. We love having the businesses we have and the people we work with. That's what makes this fun. That's what makes it challenging and therefore worth our time to grow and improve. So anyway, appreciate it so much. Thank you, and go make an impact today.